Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mikayla, also known as the Holistic Hottie. Thank you guys so much for tuning into my video. Thank you guys for liking, commenting, subscribing, and just being so active with me in this community. Here on my channel, we talk about all things ministry, medicine, and the building of my community. Because as holistic hotties, what does that mean? It means you embody the wholesomeness of having a healthy mind, body, and spirit. And I'm just so thankful that you guys are here, that you guys are constantly keeping me motivated during this time in my journey. And a lot of you guys are brand new to my channel, so before I started pumping out content, I wanted to really break down who I am, break down my journey, break down the highs and lows of my journey, different parts of delay in my journey, and talk about the character development that's come from my journey in every aspect of the word, whether it was intentional or forced. It's developed me into this beautiful person who I'm so thankful to know now and that you all are watching. So before I get into any of that, please be sure to like, share, and comment just things you learned throughout the video and what you're expecting in your life as you're in this season of development, whether it's a season of delay or just sometimes being disappointed. As pre-meds, as believers, we go through those different seasons of life. And one of my friends had did a post about seasons, and it inspired me to create this video where I talk about every season that's happened since I've graduated, even prior, and that's led me to this point. So if you stick it out this far, please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and see what all we're talking about in this video. So without further ado, let's get started. So a little bit about me. I'm from South Florida, grew up, born and raised, and in my community, there's not a lot of talk about education, especially if you're somebody who wants to go in the pre-health field. Usually, if you tell somebody you want to be a doctor or, a lawyer or anything like that, they'll want to downgrade you and give you maybe a position underneath that. So, for example, I tell people I want to be a doctor. Oh, why don't you want to be a nurse? And this is no disrespect towards nurses, but if I tell you I want to be something, why downplay me and tell me a different option versus what I'm telling you? If somebody wants to be a nurse, why would you tell them to go be a dental hygienist? You see what I'm saying? So it's already that kind of fight as you're going throughout your journey to be your most authentic self without the comments of other people in the background. So that was kind of something that played a part in my journey. So let's talk about the beginning of my journey up until the point where it was delay. So, as most of you all know or will know in this video, I grew up I come from a very big family, and in my family, I'm one of the oldest daughters. And anyone who's Black, African, you know the commitment, and you know sometimes the stress that comes with being the oldest daughter. So there's always that standard to be the creme de la creme. You have to do good in school and ministry. If you're a Christian, you have to be good at everything. There is no participation award. It's either first place or nothing at all. So even though my family isn't very forceful with that, that's something that I grew up with as the older sibling, where you have other people relying on you, people who are expecting things of you. And, early on you learn to cook, clean, be good at academics, be good at everything else, and be that support system for everybody else that yourself lacks that in the grand scheme of things. I remember growing up, and it was nothing for me to do things out of hyper independency. It was nothing for me to go hours without sleep or eating or things like that, because I was so focused on my family and my future, and sometimes even my friends. It was just, when I have this picture in mind, I put on the blinders and everything else is subside, and I'm focusing on that goal, and then you just go on to the next. So it's never really a time of solitude in your emotions or feelings. It's more so just, what's next. So this carried me on from elementary school up until high school. So in high school is where I started to really embark on my journey in medicine, and where I really found myself, in a sense, or my purpose, that is. So ever since I was a child, I've always wanted to be a physician, right? But what most don't know is I wanted to be a veterinarian. So, so growing up, I would tell people I wanted to be a dual physician in a sense. I wanted to be a veterinarian because I loved animals. I was that person who would watch National Geographic, Animal Planet. My favorite show back then was like Dogs 101 because I loved dogs. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a veterinarian. I want to save animals, da, 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 da. But I also wanted to be a pediatrician. I also wanted to be that person that you could bring your children to and they can get the healing and help they need because I love kids. So when people would ask me, what do you want to be? I'd be like, oh, I want to be a vet. But then I said, I also want to be a pediatrician. It was those two things that I felt were really important to me. And this is, I'm really gearing you all toward my journey because I want you to understand it's okay to not know that you want to be a cardiothoracic surgeon at 4. It's okay to not know that you want to be an internist at 17. It's okay. It is okay because when your calling calls you, when your purpose is evident, when you are prophetically moved, it'll be apparent. You don't have to second guess it. It's natural to you. And that's what I had to learn. So I'm going throughout high school, and I ended up at my high school, which was one of the first historically black high schools during the time of segregation. And my grandmother was one of the first alumnus to go to that school. So my family thought it was just such a legacy that continued on when I went to that school. And I loved it. I loved my high school because it really showed me the importance of family, the importance of friends, and it showed me how important my culture is to me and why, as a black woman, it's so important and why it's so important that I go in this field. And I found out that being a veterinarian, it was cute, but I didn't like snakes. I didn't like iguanas. I didn't like all that other stuff, because I was like, I only want dogs and cats. I didn't want to really, deal with any of the other stuff that came with it. But when it came to medicine and people, I loved it. I didn't care what it was. I loved it and I wanted to do it. So here we go. Anyone who knows anything about college or learning about college, around your junior, senior year is when you decide where you're going to go for college. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to go to UF or USF. Again, Florida native. So I'm thinking, I want to go to those two colleges, not thinking long-term outside, but that's just where I want to go. Long story short, I ended up going to HCC, a community college, where I got my Associate of Arts degree. And during this time is when I started to feel disappointed because what crept in? Comparison. I was comparing my journey to my friends. I was comparing my journey to classmates. Why was it that I wasn't going to these prestigious institutions when I had worked so hard and had such a high GPA? Why is it that I wasn't getting the scholarships they were getting? Why is it that I was, still being the underdog even though I worked so hard and sacrificed so much to get to this point? And I'm saying this because comparison is the thief of joy. It is. And comparison's also the cousin of jealousy. So I was looking at these, other people's journeys and thinking, well, maybe I could make myself kind of like them, or maybe I could do this to mimic what they're doing and I can get the same results. And it never came through. It never did. But when I learned to be my most authentic self, that's when things started to proliferate and become better. And what I mean by that is I was still in this mindset of, okay, I'm at community college, but this is not where I want to be. I want to be at the university. I want to be with the big dogs. I want to be going to research conventions and all this other stuff. But my mind was still small because I hadn't matured yet. I hadn't matured in what I wanted, who I was, and who I was going to become. And that's so important in your journey that you give yourself the grace to become that physician, to become who you are, to become Mikayla, to become insert your name. And if you don't get a chance to become that, everything else will not come forward. It won't, because you're the most important part of your journey and your aspect. Individuality is so important. And here I am taking all these higher level science classes, and I'm not learning about me. I'm learning about the cells, about life, anatomy, but I haven't dissected me. What I wanted, what I needed, where I was mentally, emotionally. Where am I spiritually? Where am I physically? Am I healthy? And I wasn't. But I was just going through because I was so ingrained to be being hyper independent and focusing from a place of almost depression because I didn't like not doing anything. If I wasn't in school, I was like, what's my purpose? What am I doing? I didn't know how to have fun. Now, mind you, growing up, my dad always had a saying, baby girl, don't take the you out of fun. You meaning yourself. And I neglected that for so long because I thought, no, school is fun. Yeah, school is fun. When people would ask me, what are you doing? Oh, I'm in school, I'm in school, I'm in school. Oh, I'm studying, I'm studying. It was never about me. And I made school my personality. As cheesy as it sounds, I made being a pre-med student my personality. Y'all, it's childish, but it's the truth. And a lot of pre-meds do that. We tend to say, "Oh, I'm doing this research project or that," and it's like I'm not asking about that. I'm asking about you. Tell me about you. What are your hobbies? I did not have a hobby. My hobby was studying or going to church. That's not telling me anything about you. So I graduated from HBC, and here I am thinking, okay, we're going into the next season of my life, USF. Guys, that was one of the worst times of my life. It was so bad because, again, Miss Hyper Independent didn't seek the counsel of the Lord. I didn't seek the counsel of myself. I was running behind advisors. And anybody who knows anything, if you only look to your advisors for guidance, you will end up delaying your journey. And if you haven't already figured it out, you will. Unless someone gets to you and says, no, 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 this is the better way of doing things. So I was looking at the opinions of so many people when it came to my journey at USF because I was like, no, I got to get it right. My GPA, I want to be in the honor society. I want to do everything I came here to do and then some, right? I want to have a name at this institution. Y'all, God has a funny way of humbling you. I went into it, right, taking 15 credits. And when I tell you guys, I was not prepared. I wasn't prepared for the rigor of these courses from community college level to university. I was not prepared. I went from taking 1 to 2,000 level to 3 to 4,000 levels. And I made the mistake of taking 15 credits my first semester. I will always, have that sort of like regret about that because it really broke me down, you guys. And this was the first time that I was vulnerable with friends and family about my failures because in my mind, I hadn't failed before. I had never done bad in school. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking a C is just treason. But D's, and the point to where I had to withdraw from courses was not in my mind. It wasn't. So now I'm in a room with 400 people and I'm not retaining the information. I'm just going to class. I'm just taking down notes. I'm just there. And I'm crying on my way to school. I'm crying leaving. I'm calling my brother. I'm calling people, just asking for prayer and advice because I'm like, this is not me. I don't fail. Pride. Pride. I was like, no, I don't need help. I don't go to the tutoring center. And when I go, I have a funky attitude because I'm like, why am I here? I know how to do this stuff. Y'all, it was bad. And I had got to the point where because I thought I was that girl, that it was my personality. So when you came to me and tried to check me like, no, you're doing it wrong, I'd be like, what are you talking about? I know this stuff. Prideful to where it became like, I don't need your help. Because again, that hyper independency, thinking that asking for help or for people to do things for you was like highway robbery to me. No, it was them hurting my ego. It was them being like, babe, you need help. And I'm trying to tell you, no, 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 I got it. Even though I'm going to the advisors getting ready to withdraw, I still didn't want help. And I was so embarrassed, so embarrassed. And that was my first semester having to literally see my GPA and be like, what the heck? What the heck happened? What was going on? And I ended up retaking organic chemistry, genetics, and a couple other classes. And what was a good feeling, you know, people saying, "What are you doing? Like, what's going on?" Turned into "Oh, you know, I'm in school." It became more like, let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about school. Let's not talk about anything like that, because why? I was embarrassed. I realized that, you know, you're not as smart as you think you are, in a sense. And from that moment on, I realized that I could not go through undergrad alone. I wasn't going to events. I wasn't making myself friendly, even though I'm a naturally friendly person. I love socializing, but my mind was just so focused on the end goal, which was becoming a doctor. When I went into USF, I said I want to be here for 2 years, graduate, apply to medical school, and let's move on. I'm not here to make friends or whatever. And that was the wrong mentality, because your undergrad is literally about socializing, networking, becoming the best version of yourself, and maximizing your talents. That's literally what undergrad is for. And it wasn't until my senior year, going into my last semester, when that started happening. Because I decided that I wasn't going to leave the way I came in, which I should have started out earlier like that, but it didn't happen that way. But I'm glad, because it led to so many wonderful things in my journey. So fast forward, you guys, you know, withdrawals, whatever. Now it's my senior year. I have not studied for the MCAT. I have not finished all of my prereqs. I was just finished. I was in my second to last semester of my senior year. And a lot of my classmates were saying, "Oh, you know," again, pre-meds are very boastful people. And it's very annoying because these are people who will come in a classroom and say, "Oh, I didn't study," and made 104 on the test. And you're wondering why the curve is so bad. Because you got people, you know, just punking out other people, basically making them feel like, because they didn't make 100 or something, or a 90 or whatever, or a 24, that's your girl, making them feel bad, even though I was studying for hours at a time. I'm like, what is going on? Why are they doing well and I'm not? Comparison. Anyway, you guys, going throughout the semester, I ended up making wonderful friends, connections, and finally started living. Okay, but here we go. You're in these pre-med communities and organizations and societies, and what's the conversation? When are you applying to medical school? Have you taken your MCAT? And it's like, oh, the MCAT? What are you talking about? So, first generation college student, I knew I had to take the MCAT because I heard about it, but no one ever broke it down to me and told me the specifics of why it was so important, right? So, here we go. I'm like, oh, it's a regular test. I'm thinking like it's a simple, easy peasy undergrad. No. Here I go again, underestimating and being prideful, thinking, oh, it'll take me like 2 days to study for the MCAT. Y'all, we'll talk about that. So anyway, I'm hearing people talk about it, how brutal it was, the different things. So I'm an undergrad, like, okay, let me just kind of bank some of these resources. So got the Kaplan stuff, was like, let me just kind of like see what's going on with Miles Down, Anki. Let me see what it's like. Long story short, you guys, I was like, you know what? Let me focus on the MCAT after I graduate. Because I knew that I wasn't ready to apply to medical school. I knew I wasn't. I just knew in my heart that I was not ready. So I'm seeing all my classmates take their MCAT, all my classmates do their thing. Meanwhile, I'm just like, I want to pass. I just want to pass and graduate. That's it. So I remember one of my lab TAs for cell bio was talking about how he had just got accepted to medical school, and he was in a master's program at USF, and he was, it basically helped him build the rigor and become more competitive because his GPA wasn't the best. Now, just for context, you guys, insert some context. My undergrad GPA was a 3.28 science GPA. So that's just, I'm just throwing that in there. So in comparison to schools and what they wanted, I met the 3.0 mark, but some of them did want, you know, higher stats. So I knew that I would have to do a master's, but I wasn't really trying to rush and do it. But he sat down, we talked about it and everything, and I was telling him how I want to do a master's, but I just didn't know how. So mind you guys, I'm, again, being hyper independent because I'm thinking about what's next. So he was saying, well, you'd have to take your GRE or your MCAT to get the master's, and I was basically I applied for a master of science in molecular biology with a concentration in cellular biology. So I was like, oh, bio, that's perfect. 1 year non-thesis, we can get in, get out, whatever. So I applied to that program, and it's my last semester. I'm getting ready to graduate in December. I'm just building you guys up context-wise, long story short. So it didn't work out. I ended up graduating, not hearing back from the school until winter break, and they told me that I did not get into the program. 2 years later, you guys, here we are. And this is where delay and character development came into place. I had never had so many consecutive losses in my journey, from academics to friends to family to personal growth and just declining. It was a lot going on. And through everything, I kept medicine in the forefront of my mind to the point where it was crippling me. Okay. And sometimes you can make things an idol in your life. And I made medicine an idol to where it was something that I didn't care if I lost friends, family, whoever. I wanted that dream so bad. And it was not healthy. It wasn't healthy at all because my health started declining. The way I saw myself, the way I saw my dream, it just seemed like everything was crumbling in front of me. I had people who I never thought leave my life. And it was just a very troubling time. Graduation was great, but January after graduating, it was like, Kayla, what's next? You know, what are you doing? And I was studying for my MCAT, you guys, and I ended up taking it I was supposed to take it in April of 2020. The pandemic hit. I took it June. My study schedule was terrible, you guys. It was terrible because COVID happened. My family happened. I happened. I happened to just fall prey to so many things. And I ended up taking my MCAT while having symptoms of COVID. And that's no excuse, but I'm just putting into context how my body was just physically exhausted. Took my test, you guys, and I scored a 472 on my MCAT. And for anyone who knows, a 472 is the lowest percentile. It's the 1 percentile. A 525 is the highest. When I got that score, I was devastated. I fell into a state of depression because I was so fixated on, yeah, I got it. I know I got it. And it didn't happen. So when people would ask me about my journey and where I was at, I would want to break down in tears because I'm like, Mikayla, you're smart, you're gifted. Why is this happening? It was pride. It was a stumbling block to help me because I thought I didn't need anybody. I really did. I thought that I could do it on my own because the people who were in my life were leaving. So why would I want more people to come in and help me? And I had never felt this way before. Never. So I said, okay, we're going to get back on this horse, redo the MCAT, right? And mind you, I was going to apply to medical school for that cycle. It didn't end up happening. So around September, I said, you know what, I'm going to go back in it. Let's do it again. From September till June, I had been in such a state of complacency to the point where I was stagnant. Nothing was happening in my life. Nothing. My prayer life, my personal life, nothing was happening, y'all. Nothing. People would ask me things and I literally had to tell them nothing. And that was not like me. So everyone was concerned. I was just kind of like, y'all, I'm here for the ride. I don't know what to do. And this is where I was in a season of consistent delay for about 2 years, a year and a half, delay. And it really, and I'm not trying to be facetious, you guys, it wasn't until I gave my life to Christ all over again that I said, God, my life is stagnant. There were so many nights that I would just cry. I would get in my car and drive, and I'm just being authentic with you all because I want you to understand my journey. There were times where I get in my car and just drive and just cry. And I was in such a place of like stagnation that it felt suffocating. Like I couldn't breathe because it was such a demand on my life. But I was also in a place of like, where are you, God? Who am I? I started to have identity crisis. Like, Who am I? What am I doing? And I never felt so low in my life. And people would come into my life and tell me things about my journey and my calling. And I'd be like, y'all, I can't even pass this test. What are you talking about? God has called me to be a physician, but I cannot pass this test. What are you talking about? Here I am still making medicine my focal point. And there's so many other things that are important and are literally in my path, but I'm not giving weight to. So long story short, I take my test in April. I felt so scared and alone. Rescheduled it for June. Took it, you guys, and I scored a 484, 485, I think. Even after meeting one of my closest friends, and we studied for 13, 14 hours a day, her and I, and it was like, what happened? Y'all, I was so sure of myself, and it did not happen. So I was like, oh my gosh. Now, mind you guys, I had applied to medical school. This was literally when I was like, okay, Lord, I'm going to take this thing seriously. So June, I took my MCAT. No, I'm sorry, July I took my MCAT. And I had from June, I kind of like rushed, I like finagled and rushed everything. My personal statement, the whole nine. But I was like, you know what, God, I'm going to apply, see what happens, whatever. And y'all, the whole making a deal with God thing is kind of funny because I was like, you know what, Lord, I'll make a deal with you. I'm not going to look at my MCAT score until I get my first acceptance to medical school, right? But I made that commitment or deal with God out of fear because I didn't know where I was with my journey. So mind you, that 484 is in the air, but I had known about it. The only reason I knew was because one of the schools I applied to sent me an email saying you did not meet our MCAT cutoff for a 494, I believe. And I got the email and I was like, what are you talking about? So I'm telling everybody, I took my MCAT, but I won't tell you the score. I'm looking at this like, I didn't do it. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if I did make a 494, what did I do? So a week or so went by, and I was just like in a state of panic. So I ended up, going back on my word, which I had made out of fear anyway, y'all. Don't do that. Don't do that. If you're going to make a commitment to God, do it out of pureness and sincerity. If you know that, you're just saying out of fear, don't do that. This is embarrassing. So yeah, I looked at my score, and I saw the 480, 445. And I was like, I was so devastated. I was so hurt. Mind you, people were praying for me. I was praying. And I was just like, what happened? God, I'm finally having a relationship with you. I'm thinking we're, developing, right? Y'all, that character development was crazy. From 2020 till now, character development. My homegirl and I would joke and say, this is just God giving us character development. And it's like, girl, when can we stop? So long story short, y'all, I had already pushed out so many secondaries, right? And at that point, I just stopped. I stopped putting out secondaries. I had already taken pictures for my application, everything, and I was just like, I'm done. Because this score is not going to get me anywhere but a big fat no. And I was not ready to be rejected at all. So at that point, you guys, it's like around August. So I was like, you know what? Okay, let me just go ahead and work. I'm tired of studying. I'm tired of doing everything. I want to work. And the opportunity through the Americorps came. And I never heard of the Americorps before, but that program literally saved me. And it brought me such a place of comfort. Now, mind you, the Americorps where I was stationed at, it brought even more character development. It brought me even closer to Christ, but even closer to my calling. So sometimes delay can lead you to a state of development because it's God trying to show you there's different layers to you. You're not just amazing with medicine. You're wonderful with people, with community. You're wonderful with so many other things. And, your passions are in different places. You're not just one-dimensional. You're multi-dimensional. You're multifaceted. And that's what God was trying to show me. But I was like, no. I'm only good at medicine. Like, yeah. So it was just a really wonderful time. And through that, from 2021 till 2022, which was like, okay, Lord, I'm here, And I'm saying all this to say that one thing that kept ringing from pastors, prophetess, from YouTube videos, and just spending time with myself and the Lord was delayed but not denied. Delayed but not denied. Denied. Delayed but not denied. Be still. Be still. Be still. There's the Lord saying, be still, and I want to move. He's saying, be still, and I want to go. And, you know, there's a saying in my community, a hard head makes a soft behind. And at this point, y'all, at this point, it was nothing. You know what I'm saying? It was no meat, no nothing. Because at this point, I was beyond hard-headed, okay? But in that, you know, kind of like disobedience, delayed period of my life, it was just like, okay, things are making sense. And out of that, you guys, came y'all, the Holistic Hottie, came the blog site, came my interest in dual degree programs, my interest in helping others with their journey in medicine from high school up until their PhD or greater, helping people understand why being holistic in your healing is so important, your mind, body, and spirit, because my mind was off, so my spirit was off. My spirit was off, so my body was off. And just really seeing how they all connect. And even now, where I'm at in my journey, to some it still looks like I'm delayed. Because they're like, girl, why aren't you in medicine yet? What's taking so long? And it's like, I'm not finished developing yet. I'm really not. If I would have went into medicine when I thought I was supposed to, y'all, I wouldn't know half of what I know. I would have met half the people that I've met. I'm able to do research in an institution where it's like, God, during the pandemic, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. I'm able to spend time with my family. I'm able to work on me. I'm able to learn how to love me and not see myself in the eyes of others, but the eyes of Him. And to see myself as a gift, to see my life as a journey. And throughout my journey, though there's been lots of downs, there's been lots of highs too. And I'm saying that to you, to somebody, that though your situation's delayed, it's not denied. If you're a believer, then you know that whatever God told you concerning your life, whether it was prophesied or He told you specifically, it's going to come to pass. And if you aren't a believer, you still have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that no matter what happens, this calling has to come forth. It has to come true. And I have to stay the course. But don't lose yourself in the process. Don't lose yourself in the journey. I don't care if it's you against the world. It shouldn't be that way. But if it happens that way, do it with a good standing, a good heart, good morals and values. Because it's better for you to have a good name than riches. You see what I'm saying? So throughout this journey, I've learned so much. Like, I've learned so much. And so much so that I want other people to see it that way. I want other people to, you know, understand that, listen, y'all, it's more than one way to skin a cat. So it's more than one way to get in that door and get that white coat, okay? And you want to do it with grace. You don't want to do it stressed out, angry, upset, because guess what? Once you get that white coat, what memories are you going to hold on to? What was your driving force? Do you have like core memories with your friends and family? Do you have times where it's like I could think about, you know, a trip that me and my homegirl went on and we just had a great time, or, you know, my best friend? Can you do stuff like that? Don't just be a robot. Nobody wants that. People want people who are relatable, who are authentic, and who are genuine to them. So I wanted you guys to understand that about my journey, about me. My name is Mikayla. That's who I am. And the Holistic Hottie is just a branch of who I am. It's just another part of me. So think of your life as a tree. There's different branches. You hold different hats. You hold different parts of you. But you are still that one individual. Okay? So that's my journey, and I really hope that you all enjoy this video. God's willing, I will be posting videos more frequently, you guys. I just finished my service agreement with the Americorps, so now I have more time. And I also was accepted to Morsani College of Medicine's MSP3 program, and I will be getting my Master of Science in Medical Science degree this fall. So I'm going to be doing a video about that, telling you guys all about the program, why I chose that program over my other programs, and getting an MPH. So be sure to stay tuned for that. And there's a couple of other things that are kind of, finagling their way in. So I just hope you guys enjoy it. You enjoyed the video. And please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And in the comments, I want to hear from you guys. So tell me about a time where things were delayed but not denied. And I hope that's coming forward in this season of your life where things are accelerating and moving. But if not, tell me what you're doing about it and how you're actively working towards your goals still. And that number one goal should be healing yourself first and everything else second. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.